Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In this video, I want to talk about a very important topic. That topic is religion. In the more than a year that I've been making videos and putting them on the web for all to see, I've been asked one question more than any other. That question is, are you a Christian? Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Every single time I've been asked this question, I have taken the time to respond. The reason I do this is because I realize it is an important question to the people who are asking, and I want to be honest and truthful with them. What I always respond is this: no, I am not a Christian. With regards to Jesus, I was raised a Christian, and Jesus has always had a major influence on my life. As a child, I learned that Jesus was a person who lived by the golden rule, meaning that he treated all people well, treating them the way he wanted to be treated. I also learned that Jesus was about helping those, especially those in need. I also understood the story of Jesus, how he was against materiality and how he was against standing up to tyranny and the forces that oppress. And through all of my life, I have always respected and appreciated these things and tried to live in the same way. That said, I do not believe that Jesus was the Son of God and died on a cross for man's future sins. And the reason I don't believe that is for two main reasons that I will explain right now. One is that it doesn't make sense to me. If God is the creator of this world, if God is all powerful, why would his master plan be to send a mortal man to earth to die on a cross for man's future sins, and then all God would want of mankind is for them to believe that story? Why wouldn't God instead want mankind to live as Jesus did as the most important thing, rather than believing in the story? I don't understand how mankind's belief that Jesus came to earth and died on the cross for our sins is beneficial to us. I don't see what the purpose of that is, other than to find a group of people who will agree to an idea. That idea being that God sent a man to earth to die on the cross for our sins. And so many Christians really want me to believe that. For whatever reason, it's important for them that I believe that and that everyone else believe that. For me personally, I don't see why that's important. I understand why living like Jesus is important. That I totally get, and that I embody, that I embrace. The other reason I don't believe in that part of the story, him dying on the cross for our sins, is because I've seen my whole life how people use that belief as an excuse for making negative behavior. When I was a child, I would hear my peers, I would hear people who are older than me talk about how we are born sinners, as Christianity teaches, and because of that, it's okay for us to sin so long as we believe in Jesus, because then we're forgiven. And, I could tell you stories all day about how I've seen people use that belief to do what they know is wrong. Recently in my own life, I reached out to my neighbor who's unemployed, who I wanted to help out. I wanted to give him money to do a small project. And when he got all excited finding out that there's cash in my house, he told me I should watch out. People might want to rob me for that. And then lo and behold, just days later, my house gets completely ripped off and he disappears out of town for a week. When he returns, he buys the exact same vehicle as me, which he now drives to church in every Sunday, and he has been for more than a year. He goes to church every Sunday. He's a believer. before we had this falling out, before he ripped off my house and filed a restraining order against me, which was the next thing he went out and did, he had asked me to come to his church. And I let him know that I appreciated the offer, but I wasn't a Christian. And because I wasn't a Christian, I probably shouldn't take him up on that offer. And we had a discussion that day about why I wasn't a Christian. And he seemed to accept what I said, but I noticed his face expression wasn't exactly friendly during the conversation. And honestly, in hindsight of being robbed by him and having him create all these problems in my life, I imagine, here I'm assuming, but I imagine that part of his justification in his mind and his heart for robbing me was because he knew that I wasn't a Christian, and he probably thinks for his negative behavior, he'll be forgiven because he believes in Jesus. This right here, this example, is why I am not a Christian. I hadn't been a Christian for many years before that, but this is just a confirmation for why I'm not a Christian. I see what religion does in this world. It gives people a reason to needlessly divide, to needlessly fight, to needlessly make enemies. You know? I don't care what religion my neighbors are. I would help them all out because they're people. You know? I see us all as people of the earth. At the end of the day, us people, we all need the same things. We need to survive, we need food, water, air. But to live right and to feel good about ourselves, we need to treat each other with respect and be right to each other. This is the message of Jesus. This is the message of Muhammad. This is the message of almost every spiritual figure out there. But what all of these religions do is they tie in some component that says, but you also have to believe this, otherwise you're outside of the club. And with regards to Christianity, I see that being the belief that Jesus died on the cross for our sins because we're sinners and we need to be forgiven. I don't subscribe to that. I think as people we can be about bigger things. You know, so many other Christians, when I let them know, they criticize me and they say, well, if you don't know Jesus, then you don't know truth. Some people also say, well, if you think that, then you're going to go to hell. And that's what my sister always says to me. My sister's told me I'm going to go to hell, I don't know, 1,000 times. Just because I don't believe that one part of the story. And, you know, it's heartbreaking. To me, it also shows that so many people are fear-driven in this regard. The belief of going to hell is fear-driven. You know, of course they want to ascend to heaven. They don't want to go to hell. And that comes from fear. That's working on the concept of reward and punish. Quick gematria lesson. If you're new here, I like to talk about gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. One of the most spiritual numbers is 33. The words reward, punish, deserve, all have a gematria of 33. First book in the Bible, Genesis, has a gematria of 33. Genesis, the spiritual explanation of how God created the earth. In science, another thing that's used to divide science versus religion, I don't think it should be that way either. Science versus spirituality, I don't like that. But anyhow, the scientific explanation of how the earth came to be, Big Bang, a term that always sounded forced to me. Anyhow, Big Bang has the gematria of 33, just like Genesis. A lot of connections through gematria between spirituality and science. Science has a gematria of 155, so does Christianity. Think about Christian scientists. Anyhow, coming back to religion. I can respect everyone's spiritual beliefs My problem comes when people of other spiritual beliefs start demonizing me because I don't think exactly as them. I can tell you something honestly to all of you Christians, to all of you of all faiths. Even though I'm not in your religion, I guarantee you would rather have me as your neighbor than most people that share your spirituality. I mean it when I say that Jesus has been the inspiration in my life. I don't think you have to believe the full story that we're told in the good book, you know? This belief system comes from a book, Truth Seeker. And in that regard, I don't think any book has ever been written by God. I think men who have wanted control have been the authors of books, even spiritual texts such as the Bible. On that point, let's move on to a related topic. The United States of America, the nation that I live in, the nation that the majority of my subscribers and viewers live in, it was once a nation inhabited by native people, a people who are mostly gone due to genocide. And what was the root reasoning of that genocide? From the people who led the genocide, it was the explanation that they were a less advanced people. They weren't Christian. They were heathens. They were savages. And because of this, they were fit for destruction. In our history books, we're given the definition manifest destiny. Manifest destiny. Both words with 33 gematria, put it together, it sums to 66. In the Bible, there are 39 books in the Old Testament, 27 books in the New Testament. Put it together, 66 total books. The Bible has been used throughout history as a justification for wrongdoing. Even though it's the book that contains the story of Jesus, a story of acceptance and doing what's right for your fellow man no matter what. Remember, Jesus, he was a friend to everyone. A friend to everyone. Jesus' only enemies were the people trying to oppress him and his fellow man. And even for them, he had forgiveness. So throughout history, Truth Seeker, even before the natives in the genocide of them, with the Bible used as the justification, there was the Crusades, killing people for different spiritual beliefs. Since the genocide of the natives, there have been world wars, and Christianity has been at the center of all of them. World War I, do you know how Americans were duped into fighting the war? They were told that Kaiser Wilhelm, the leader of Germany, was the Antichrist. The U.S. government was putting out propaganda saying the leader of Germany was the Antichrist. Look it up. If you're not aware of that, that's the truth. The people of this nation were taught that the Antichrist was the leader of Germany, and they should go enlist in the war to fight this demonic presence. This type of rhetoric has been used again and again. World War II, Christianity, another major central focus. Now here we are at this day and age, and we're living this build-up to World War III, and the writing's on the wall. It's clearly going to be Christianity versus Islam. This is what we've been mentally prepped for now decades. Don't you see, Truth Seeker? Religion is used as a weapon against people. Within all spirituality, within all religious texts, there is a lot of good. But there's also confusing, unclear messages that open the door for manipulation. It's a lot like the news. You know, if two people sit on a couch and watch